Everything we're about to show you, typical beginning of what we do is by creating a new data store inside your VMware environment. That gets you set up about everything we're going to show you from front to back, DR service up in VMware or AWS, all this kind of goodness that we're doing. You simply start with that, right? So what we did announce today at Datrium, we actually pre-launched this out of VMware a couple weeks ago. We now have full-blown either instant RTO or on-demand DR as a service up in AWS with VMC on SDDC, right? What that equates to is you're going to see it. This is the culmination of about 6.5 to 7 years of work by our guys, right, to get to this point. This is our first step into doing full DR, full mobility for any VMware customer, taking it to where they want to get to. Right? Our first step is inside of AWS. That's kind of where we start this whole process. But the simple plan for us is to take you from your on-prem, so prem-to-prem movement, prem-to-cloud movement, using one tool. One tool that you don't have to learn anything about. So you simply run anything outside of VMware. So the idea for us, no offense to our great friends here, my national people, think of if Nutanix, the Pure Boys, the guys over at Cohesity, or Rubrik, or Veeam, they all had a baby. How came Datrium? Right? The idea of having a single unified data services platform behind VMware to match what they do in the front end, and then allow you to move anywhere you want to in the world. That's what we've created. Here's the cool part, guys. I'm going to show it to you. Right? I'm going to show it to you. You're going to have access to our labs for the next 36 hours. And by the way, if you want to do this even more full-blown, we love to show you what we can do, right? You know, we're still not the biggest guy on the block. I'm Irish and Italian. I love to pick any fight I want to, right? That's the way it works, right? I'm a born-bred Philly kid at the end of the day. Look, we will come on site, run this testing queue, we can set up the Amazon instances for you to do all this stuff inside your own environment. This is what we want you guys to do. You guys are great hands-on folks with the VMware environments. Now we want to show you just what we do outside of the environment too, right? Does that make sense? Cool. All right, so we are going to show you. Greg's going to walk us through how we actually do.
Yeah.
Greg, how many people going to fail over up into a DR scenario with AWS? Anybody fail over AWS yet? No? Well, I guess the next answer is, anybody ever do fail back from AWS? Nah, real cool trick, right? You exit out. Yeah.
We're going to do it today.
DR testing. Do you guys do DR testing on a yearly basis? Not a bit, yeah. Does it usually go well? No, yeah, no, shake your head, great. Boom, shake your head, you're all right back there. This is the 12% that actually works. Yeah, end of the day, right? So
Yeah.
but we're going to show you really, and we're going to let Greg kick this off. And I'm going to walk through kind of how we do what we do along the way. You're going to see a full fail over into AWS and then a full fail back. Spinning up the VMC. So Greg, is that
Yep.
you? Right.
Hey guys, yeah, just as Nick mentioned, I'm going to do the demo for you guys today. I'm going to show you how DR as a service works. Just for the record, I am from Pittsburgh. I am a huge Steeler fan, so don't throw any tomatoes at me while I do this. I appreciate it. So what I'm showing you now is Control Shift. So Control Shift is our product. It lives in the cloud, and it is our DR and orchestration software. So as you can see here, this is a dashboard for Control Shift. If you look up here, we have some nice summary of the environment. The green check mark lets us know that everything's okay. We can see our capacity usage over here and make sure the health of all our nodes are okay. And here we have a nice topology view. This topology view is great because it's going to outline where we're replicating to and how we're replicating. And as you can see here, we're going to start here. So this is where we're going to live. This is where our data is going to live, where I'm going to simulate a disaster. And that environment is replicating to a Datrium in the cloud. So we have a software version of our we have a software version of the DVX that runs directly in the cloud in AWS that is linked to SDDC, VMware SDDC. So what I'm going to show you is a failure here. We are currently replicating, as you can see by the arrow, to this DR cloud DVX. And I'm going to show you how we can fail over to SDDC in the cloud. Now, there's two ways to do this. What I'm going to show you today is called Pilot Light. What Pilot Light is we run a small environment, up to 3 servers, in VMware SDDC. The reason why we do this is because we can fail over, we can get really close to a really low RTO. We also have the option, if you don't want to pay for SDDC until you use it, sort of like writing an insurance policy while your house is on fire, we can do that too, but it takes a little longer because when we do that, we have to build out the SDDC environment, obviously, before we can fail over to it. So it could take up to like an hour and a half just to build out the SDDC environment. So what I'm going to show you today is Pilot Light, which means we have a fully running SDDC currently. So it's just something to keep in mind. when you're looking at this.
Of course, that all goes back to just how much money do you want to spend on this,
Exactly.
or how quickly you sell it back. Like, two options are there.
Yeah, and it's really up for you to decide what's okay for your environment. So, you know, if your RTO is a day, maybe you don't need Pilot Light, right? But if you do need, you know, if you're running production applications that are mission critical and they need to be up as quick as possible, Pilot Light really is the way to go, and that's going to give you the best experience overall. So just to show you, this is our HQ environment running in our lab out in California. And then over here, this is SDDC running. This is our Pilot Light servers running currently in the cloud in AWS. Do you want to go back? Sure.
Blue versus the green, right? So you can tell once Vmc in cloud is blue icon, when it's on-prem, it's a green.
There you go. Have you guys ever seen a DVX before? Ever seen the interface? Anything? Anybody? Okay. This is the DVX. So you'll notice all the management is out of VMware. There's no need to leave vCenter to do any management with the DVX. It's all done inside the DVX. And another great thing is all the actions we take, any policies we set up, any maintenance we do, anything we do to the VMs, it's all at the VM level. There are no LUNs to manage. There's no vvols to worry about. It's all VM-centric. So when we do the failover, we're not failing over LUNs, we're failing over VMs. When we set up our protection policies in replication, we're setting up on a VM level. We're not worried about LUNs. We're not worried about any of that underlying detail. So this is a DVX. This is a dashboard for the DVX. And where we start with DR to the cloud is with a protection group. So here I have a protection group. This is my protection group that I set up for this environment. Let me just step over here for a second. I have 4 VMs in my protection group. I'm snapshotting it every half an hour. You can go down to 5 minutes for this, but I'm just using half an hour to be space conscious in our lab. Here are all the locations where I have my data. So here's where my live data is in HQ, and I'm replicating to my DRAS Cloud DVX. It's right around 13 gig. So this is where we're going to start with this, and now I'm going to switch over to Control Shift and show you how we can fail this environment over. So I'm running these 4 servers right now. I'm going to simulate, this is my environment, this is my production environment right there. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to simulate a disaster. Let's just do it this way. I'm just going to power these suckers off. Yep, go ahead. That's already powered off. So for whatever reason, we've had maybe a bad actor or a hurricane come through, or name your disaster. Let me power it off. Our servers are going away. Maybe it's in the process of being powered off. Let me see here. Oh, yeah. OK, there we go. OK. Oh, I must have suspended it by accident. OK, doesn't matter. So what do? So before the disaster happened, I set up my production group. I'm replicating to the cloud. And I also set up a DR plan. So a DR plan is where all the magic happens. So this is my DR plan to fail over. As you can see from the plan over here, I'm failing over from HQ to DR. This is a 3-tier, meaning I'm bringing up infrastructure database applications. Continuous compliance is good. What continuous compliance do is when I create this plan, I have to give it a bunch of parameters, where I'm failing over to, what networks I'm using, what folders I'm failing over to. If I'm re-IPing, what IP address range do I need? So there's a bunch of parameters you have to configure when you create one of these DR plans. And what we do is because the DVX is on-prem and in the cloud, and we have VMware running, we can constantly check in the background your DR status, how you're doing, whether everything's up and running. So I'm going to click on this and just show you all the things we check. I might have got logged out since I've been sitting here for a little bit. Yep, that's what happened. OK. So we're going to go check all this stuff to make sure you're good. And this runs every 30 minutes. So the benefit of this is as long as you have a green check, you know your DR posture is good. And when you hit the button, it's going to fail over. And anytime something changes, you have configuration drift in your environment, you have issues, that is going to go to a failed state, and it's going to send you an email or an alert or something else to let you know, hey, there's a problem with your DR posture. Trust me, I've worked for EMC and professional services for 16 years. You don't know there's a problem until there's a problem in most failover scenarios when you're doing DR testing. This is fantastic because you can know if there's a problem before you do DR testing, and if you're audited, you can provide audit reports back to say, hey, our DR posture is good, and when you do a test, we'll run another report to show you that's good. I'm going to show you that later, what that looks like, but we're always going to let you know what your DR posture is. So I'm just going to, I've failed, my environment failed, so I'm just going to run a failover. This is a snapshot I'm going to use for the failover. That's been within 30 minutes. I'm just going to go ahead and ignore all errors. Here's my recovery steps. You can create this as part of your plan. I created a simple recovery step just to make it easy so this goes quick. And I'm just going to go ahead and fail over. So before I hit finish, you'll just know this is our VMware environment. You can see there's my folder, GP DRAS demo. There's nothing running in there right now. It's an empty folder. So I'm going to go ahead and fail over. And this is going to kick off my plan. So you can see here it's starting to run my failover steps. Again, this is a simple plan. We can put a lot more steps in here depending on what your DR requirements are. So right now, it's taking that snapshot in the cloud. It's mounting it up to our SDDC environment, and you'll start to see us bringing up VMs in the cloud. So it's brought the VMs in. And so what we're doing, while this is happening, I'm going to explain sort of what's happening here. So our DVX is mounted to the SDDC, so we have a data store that's mounted to the SDDC. So what we're going to do is we're going to use that to start bringing up these VMs, getting them configured, start bringing them in. So right now, as these are being powered up, it's actually running on our data store. It's running on our cloud instance of DVX. However, because we're running on cloud and we use S3 storage to protect your data to make it as cost effective as possible, you're going to start noticing here where it says reallocating virtual machine. What we're going to do is we're going to take that virtual machine once it's running and start moving it over to vSAN. And we do this because that's going to give you the best performance in the cloud that we can give you. That could change in the future. In the future, we're looking at running it constantly off of DVX and never moving it over, but this is how it works right now. If you want to do a DR test, you don't have to do this last step. If you're just doing a DR test, we can just run onto DVX. You can check your instances, make sure they're good, and keep going. But right now, we're going to reallocate those hosts over to vSAN to make sure they're good. And then when we fail back, I'm going to show you how we're going to synthesize that data. So while it's running in SDDC, obviously changes are happening, right? So when we pull that back, we're going to use VADP to pull the changes back, ingest them into the DVX, replicate them back to primary, and bring our hosts up in primary. That process takes, well, I ran this twice while you guys were sitting here doing your lab. It takes about 11 minutes to fail back. But as you can see here, I mean, we had our hosts from the time we said there's a failure and we committed our plan, our hosts have been up maybe in 3 minutes. Sure, go ahead.
So the only storage is utilized from inside vSAN or is vSAN storage?
vSAN storage in our storage. So if we look at, since we're in the data SDDC, if you look at the data stores, there's a bunch of different data. This workload data store is our data store. So that's our data store that we use. That's us, our DVX mounted up. Then under that data store is all of my VMs running currently. And then we are now, part of that relocation you see in the task down the bottom, we're moving it over to the vSAN data store.
It's a lot more efficient to keep all your backups and snapshots in S3.
Right.
And then when you go into a disaster recovery scenario, now you pull off whichever version you want to bring up and then migrate it and keep it vSAN.
Yep. But your VMs are up immediately. So we do the migration in the background. So as soon as you fail over, we bring it up on our data store. So your VMs are up, your production is up. We're just going to migrate it over so you get the absolute best performance for production. And like I said, this is, we'll call it DRAS version 1. There are plans in the future to be able to run off our data store without moving you, but for right now, this is the best solution we have to give you the best performance we can give you. Oh, yep.
What about if I had some kind of a security breach and I wanted to go back in time previous day?
Absolutely. So that is really going to depend on what your, and I can show you this. This is going to be defined in your protection group, and that's going to define how often you back up or take a snapshot and how long you retain it. So as long as you have that set up in your schedule, it'll be replicated over to the Cloud DVX, and you can fail over to any point in time you want. I probably went a little quick there, but when I went to failover, it said it selected the latest snapshot for me, but I can always hit a button and it'll give me every single point in time that I have to fail back to. As far back as you have storage to store your data. Yeah. No. We're not like a VM snapshot where you have parent-child relationships and stuff like that. You can create 2 million snapshots on and up to 2,000 per VM. So you can go back pretty far and you can maintain a lot of historical. You have a file level. Do you want me to show them the file level restore? Okay, yeah. Let's just finish this. If you want more detail, we could come and do a demo for you, but we could do file level restore. Yeah. Oh yeah, good point. Yep, yeah, I'm going to just run the failback, but I have to actually delete my data before I fail back.
The other thing is when you're in S3, all the data is encrypted as well, assuming you want it encrypted. So if somebody at Amazon wants to go through your files, it's already encrypted with your personal keys, not with somebody else's keys.
So it's encrypted at rest?
Right. And then in transition.
It's encrypted.
Oh, it's up.
The
Boom.
moment it's first written from your...
I do need to do a little bit of cleanup before I fail back, just so you know.
In-flight and at-rest. So we call that flag and encryption. So within your site, between your sites, and up into the cloud. When it goes over into vSAN, it gets unencrypted. You can't help that. But when it's stored in S3, it's encrypted with your unique key.
And that's where you get right, security events, right? Look, this is something I'll call a happy accident for us because I get to say those words, so I'm not the founder.
Sure.
All our ability to do the encryption piece, these kind of conversations are really, really fun for us, right? 700% rise in ransomware, which by the way, they got really low, right? It's on CNN and ESPN anymore for ransomware attacks that happen, right? $11.5 billion, all these great sales words, right? But the big thing is, what's the #1 way to actually survive and get through a ransomware incident for your company? Who knows the quickest way out of a ransomware incident?
Go back in time, this was stored before that.
That's the technical side of the house. But you know the #1 way to get out of a ransomware incident?
Don't get into it.
You also? All right.
Oh, yeah.
Ready to hit the button?
Which button are you referring to?
So we're up and running, so everybody wants to switch back so we are
Sure.
running, right? We're up there, as you can see now.
So you can see we failed over with no errors. We're running. We're happy. Our production is good to go. So one step we have to complete is we have to commit this failover. This is just an additional confirmation step because if you want to roll back, it's a lot easier to roll back before you commit it than after. So I'm just going to go ahead and commit this to say, yeah, we're committed to failing over to the cloud. Everything looks good. It's going to commit the failover, and it's going to disable my plan. It disables my plan because obviously I can't fail over again once I've failed over, right? So I've taken the liberty to create a failback plan already. If you don't already have a failback plan, there'll be a third button in your failover to say create a failback. When you fail back, it creates a failback plan for you, but I've done that already. For us, so here's my failback plan. I need to enable my failback plan, and let me show you something cool because there was some cleanup I needed to do before we failed over. But I'm just going to show you how this continuous compliance check works. Like I said, this runs every 30 minutes to check your DR status. It failed. So why did it fail? So here are all the things that I'm checking. Check my protection group. So what it's telling me is, hey, your protection group is still live on your production DVX. What it means is that protection group is running and it's still being scheduled and it's still trying to back up things in our HQ. And that's not good if we're failed over to the cloud, right? So we can't fail back till we resolve that issue. Now, I was going to do that before, but I think it's more cool to show you that it actually failed and why it failed and how you can use this to troubleshoot your environment when you need to. So I'm just going to go ahead and take care of that for us right now. So I'm going to go to my menu here. Come on. Let me go to the DVX. Huh. It's being temperamental on me. There we go. I am on a Mac, and I'm using Safari, and I know that's not officially supported by VMware, but I'm doing it anyway, so could be part of my problem.
Over a cell phone through VPN.
Through my cell phone, through VPN, yeah, of course, all that good stuff. But hey, that's how we roll these days, right? I mean, that's a lot for a lot of us. You know, we're at a coffee shop or we're at home on a weekend. Oh, that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, so I'm gonna demote this real quick. So I'm turning off my schedule and all that other replication stuff so I can fail back. So that's all I had to do. Now I can come over here and run my, my continuous compliance again, and it should be okay. But yeah, I mean, this is probably normal for a lot of you guys, right? You're not always, you know, in the office at your computer when bad stuff happens. You're going to be at home. You're going to be out with your family, what have you. So this simulates that a little bit. You'll see that it's successful now. I fixed the issue, so now I'm going to fail back. I'm going to issue a failback. So again, this automatically gets created. This failback plan gets automatically created. It just reverses everything that was in the initial plan. I'm going to ignore all errors. Do a preview. It's just going to show me the steps it's going to take. So there are a couple extra steps to failback. Obviously, we have to power off the VMs that are running in the cloud. But the next step is we're going to synthesize the Vmc snapshots. What we're going to do is power these VMs off. We're going to get the change tracks that have changed while we're running in the cloud, and we're going to pull those back into the DVX. So that's what this step is. And then right here, we're going to take that protection group and we're going to replicate it back. So we're going to take all the change tracks back into the DVX. We're going to replicate them back, and then we're going to bring up production. So there are a couple extra steps to failing back. So we're going to do a planned failback. Typically, when you do a planned failback, this is going to be during an outage window. You're going to be prepared for this. So this is a planned failover as opposed to a DR scenario, you know, where you have an actual disaster and you're trying to fail over. This is after the disaster's been mitigated. We're going to fail back on Sunday night. So you'll be prepared for this. So the extra steps take, you know, an extra 10 minutes or so. And depending on how many VMs, it could take longer. So we're failing back, and I'm going to give Nick some time to talk because, like I said, this is going to take about 10 minutes to fail back.
There's still one, right? So, yeah. Not like I just want to fail over. That's where it's going to fail back. Right? This is easy one. Change back again from platform to platform. This is just data store migration back. This is what it's supposed to be. Like very many years ago, the garbage on top of our data is like we call it, right? But so just jump back in. So we're doing this again. It's not you can keep something like that, but it's going to take the next bit of time. You are actually putting those changes back in. Just do the presentation real quick.
Absolutely. So just real quick, these are our servers in the cloud. You can see they're shut down. We're going to synthesize those snaps. Once we synthesize those snaps and bring it back, we'll repopulate in our local environment. So boom, go.
All right, so really, what are you looking at, right? So you guys know what we got now. This is what it comes down to for us. Let me get back to the point here. Let's start right here. Jump ahead a little bit. Let's get a good picture. So this is really where we're at, right? And this is what we talk about what the power of Datrium really is in this environment, right? The idea that our data encompasses in the virtualization space really 5 distinct silos: your primary, your backup, the DR piece of that, your encryption, and the mobility piece, right? That's really how we touch our data, how we interact with it, how we move it around, right? And now, days in your data centers and in your clouds, I guarantee you have some member of these guys up here, the Nutanixes, the Certos, the Commvaults, something doing that business for you, right? That's great, but usually it's too complex and not necessarily put close together enough to make something work as fast as I just showed you. Is that a fair enough comment? Right? Okay? So you kind of get locked into what you're doing there in your actual data centers. You have to have any kind of cloud strategy, whether it's putting, using Salesforce.com, putting stuff up there automatically, and doing some cloud first stuff. You have to have some multi-cloud strategy. But the problem is, you pick a cloud vendor, guess what happens when you pick a cloud vendor? You're locked into their rules and their regulations and how you actually manage data and create things, right? That's just the way it works, right? So businesses, right? So no matter what you're going to do in your life, you really can't modernize. Okay? You start over from scratch, right? And I mean that by start from scratch. As these guys get up here on the screen, these are 5 original founders. So remember, there's 5 data silos we talked about, right? But they want to come together and try to fix the problem of really having a uniform data services platform below VMware that makes everything work different. The guys up front, Boris and Ganesh, they kind of understand this. Use VSX. They were one of the original versions of VSX, actually taking the platform into the data center. They've been around for a very long time, right? We have the primary side done. The backup side, so Solid and private clouds. We founded Data Domain, right? Founded, sold, all kinds of great stuff. See where our pedigree is starting to shape up of why we put this company together, right? On the far right, needs to move for DR. Good pieces start to mix together, some good minds coming together here. So there's a 6th founder, we can call our 6th founder. There's Phil Liu, got something called Signal FX. Follow what Signal FX does. It's a cloud mobility monitoring tool. Splunk just bought them for $2.3 billion. He's our cloud mobility and piece inside. He's very good friends with this guy right here. It's funny how these things work. It's something out, right? Yeah. What they did about 7 years ago, they were given 4 years over $100 million to come up with this platform. You guys know the way startups work. That time frame does not exist. You do $100 million, you shake your head, right? $100 million, 12 months, 18 months, you get a product and sell it, want my money back. They trusted these guys so much. They said, we'll give you 4 years. And they delivered, right? They delivered on this project, right? So what it really comes down to is helping companies achieve a multi-cloud structure. And look, VMware, Kubernetes, I think we all can agree, they're winning the front-end compute side of this business and going to be the standards that's emerged for years to come, right? For moving data around the thing. So uniform compute services, they're the guys that have won, right? But no one in the back end has attacked it this way with us and try to get that uniform data services platform to move things prem to prem, prem to cloud, cloud to cloud. Right? I didn't come here for the real fancy fail over, fail back stuff and replicate stuff. And people have been doing that for a long time, right? Not as clean as this, but you can replicate stuff all day long. But if you can actually fundamentally take your data centers, your business, have it AWS as we just showed you. 6 months from now, drop their prices, you want to move your stuff over there, move it over there. You're going to guarantee it works for you and show the steps it takes to get there. That's what works. 5 months from now, you want to go to Azure. That's the game plan here, guys. You can have that uniform compute behind VMware and have that stand across the top. We need to very easily move the stuff along with it. Does that make sense to everybody? Right? Kind of hitting some stuff there? Okay, good. That's what we're doing. So that's what it comes down to. We're taking all 5 of those data functions, putting it in one platform. I start this conversation with, if you can create Flutter, you can run the Datrium. Let me ask you this, what you create? Data centers. Basically. Right? That's your entree of what we do. Right? And there's no relearning anything, no reason to do stuff start to finish. You guys should like it as technical people, and I guarantee your folks that count the money like it as well. Right? What we're able to do truly is remove 5, 6, 7 different vendors from your data center, right? Licenses, fees, dramatically reduce fees across the board, making things easier, right? One of the big words that CEOs like to hear, right? Operational savings. The cool part of what we do is touch on here, guys, and we can have this conversation off base. Scientific. Flash next to it. The reason why it should be pretty quick, right? Put your flash along a cable on the back end, the lines behind it, putting things going to be fast. A local flash across that cable. You have to. Pardon me for making your life easier, right? Software on your ESX hosts. Piece of flash in there or something pretty expensive, and you're off and running. You don't have to reconstruct anything. You guys have the pieces to get this stuff to page, right? This is what it's come down to, right? Remember that across the whole site. You saw what we're doing. Are we ready? What do we need next? Look at it, right? So we'll run stuff faster for you on-prem. It's very simple versus sexy. Put the software on top of your ESX site host. Put stuff behind it. Good to go. Why it works? We talked this before. This is the localized flash. I'll engage with this in length, but I want to try to keep my time to be ready to go in 2 minutes. Right?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Ransomware piece of what we do, right? Site-to-site mobility, we just showed you. Everything we do up to Amazon, we can do the same way with control shift back and forth, right? Control shift is the really big piece for us. I mentioned those guys who we came into. Zerto was probably the last guys that I love Mike Twist. You guys know Mike Twist, one of my favorite people in the world, right? But the idea that we're actually including what they do inside what we do, you saw the run book automation that we had built in, reporting features, we have that too, right? So again, to learn one across the top. Control shifts are SAT piece right there. So one click failover, a couple clicks back, right? Automated compliance checks and reports. Everything that Greg just showed you, you guys can run a DR test, site to site to cloud, in a bubble, all day long. Walk into your CISO's office, walk into whatever office you want to, and hand a report that says, boss, this is how long it's going to take if things go haywire. That's the kind of stuff we're delivering, right? That's what the control shift is. So, kind of saw what happens here, so what we're doing now. So show it to you live, right? We took our production site over there, real low RPO, global dedupe up with your S3 clouds up there, right? Low cost data storage up there, disaster strikes, we're showing you how we're spinning it up, getting it going, right? Spun up the SDVC up there, all good to go. By the way, didn't really see the configuration, didn't see really the chains, we're up and running, doesn't matter if we went from us to vSAN, doesn't matter, we're all good to go. So, and as Greg mentioned, key point to this, guys, is it's really up to your organization what you want to do. You can have on-demand SDVC in about 3 hours. That's not our fault. That's how we did that stuff up.
Yep.
Right? We're not, that's not our problem. We can do the stuff they call the pilot light. We're off and running in a couple minutes that we're showing you now. Right? This is game-changing stuff for people who really want to get their actual data out of the system. You have 2 data centers in your stuff up and down, show the program, get better DR stuff to the cloud.
I will say, if you're interested in Pilot Light, we've negotiated some really good deals with VMware. So it's not going to be, you know, the full cost of running VMC, host in VMC. We have discounted rates or as a cloud service. So.
And again, we do that on the people looking for, but pilot is very important. It's 80% lower gas. You're tearing it down all the time. You pack up your data center, probably not, right? You get a little here, there, something falls out. With us, when you make it a simple, easy, combined platform on the back end, you can be very vigilant with stuff. Pretty cool stuff. So, at the end of the day, here's the marketing slide that's up here for you. There's no who you compete with, guys. There's none. All right, we can walk in from the data domain. It's not under that crap we stuck on top of our VMware data for the last 15 years. Just really focusing on how we move data storage around, right? So, good numbers, all kinds of great stuff we can show you from a marketing standpoint. But again, it comes back to really this. This is the goal we'll be able to accomplish. There's a bunch of stuff inside of it. So, we put it this way, and I put it the most likely possible. If you're still doing this, you're still trying to take this piece, that piece, this piece, that piece, let's race. Told you I was Irish and Italian, right? Like pick a good plate. Give me a data store, give me something. We'll show you failover, fail back, and I guarantee you, just so I can understand just what we're really doing for your environment. Make sense? Anybody want to challenge? Not a whole question.
Yeah, he does. That's actually how I had my DR plan set up, but since we were time consumed, I didn't want to have to bring up the VMs one at a time. But yeah, you can say bring this up, don't go to the next step until VM tools is back up or some other thing is back up that you know that the host is good to go. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I took a sneaky peek. We're all done. Yeah.
This one, get in there, right? Design multi-cloud portal stuff. Again, create that data store lesson with the rest of it.
Cool. So just to show you guys that we're not smoke and mirrors here. So this is our primary environment again. You'll notice with the green. Thank you for pointing that out, Adrian. That we're up and running again. We're back. We're back in primary. We're back in the HQ. Everything's up and running. Control shift. Hey, everything worked. Failover worked. We have no issues. I'm just going to go ahead and commit my failback. Hey, watch it. Us guys from Pittsburgh aren't that smart, so you got to give me some time here. And then here's my cloud environment. So this is us running in AWS. Everything's cleaned up. We're not using those resources anymore. You're saving money. Saving time, saving effort. So once we run this, now we can go to a reports section. We can see our failover. And this is, I love this aspect because I used to have to deal with auditors because I spent a lot of time at a bank. Here's our PDF report of our failover. Just got pop-up blocker. Come on. There we go. This is our failback. So if you have an auditor that wants to know, hey, how did your DR test go? How did your failover? How did your failback go? We create a report for you. And in that report, you're going to notice, hey, time to recovery, your RTO. To fail back, it took us 7 minutes, 26 seconds to come from the cloud back. Task successful. Here's our all our configuration that we configured in our failback plan. Here's our workflow steps. Here's our planned execution, all the logs, all the, every step that we ran, and here's our error logs. Obviously, we didn't have any errors, but if we did have errors, there they are. Hand that over to your auditor, say, get out of my office, which is what I usually do. So there you go. It's simple as that. So in the time it took us to give this presentation, we failed over the cloud, ran in the cloud for a little bit, pulled our changes back, replicated back, and now we're running back in Prem again. So any questions on how we did this? Anything we didn't show you that you want to see? I know you have a lot of questions we can cover. What do you guys think? Cool? That's it? We did something nobody else can do. Cool. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
So two things I want to point out to you. Again, this is launched from us. This is live GA. We can sell it to you tomorrow. It's actually, from a price per minute standpoint, it's unbelievable. I can show you some numbers. But two things I want to point out for this group. You will have access to our labs for the next 36 hours right here. The time we leave here, just make sure you do it. Get you set up. It's really easy to do. You can have this stuff on your site. It's just software from us, right? It doesn't matter. We can
Oh, sorry. Do you want me to go back to your prezo? Yeah.
By the end of Q1, we will replicate the clean availability zones. As you see, we talked about, right? We're a primary storage company. Look at it before, right? That's our job. Replicate the vSync, which is somebody else's primary storage. You take your changes and bring it back to Datrium. The announcement that we have today that's on our website, datrium.com, is any to any, right? We're going to pure as somebody else as your primary storage. The DRAMs connect. Oh, we got it. Never mind. Let it go. Like you will. Anyone. It doesn't matter who you are. We put VM from Datrium, replicate failover, and into clouds. Because of control shift, the way we talk to primary storage, the way we can take the snapshots, the fingerprints, and the genes, dedupe them across the wires, keep them encrypted, and bring them back to one cloud. Doesn't matter what your storage is.
So this is part of our announcement today, right? Along with that, the U.S. Secretary of State said you can get all nice seamless stuff with us. You're good to go with one platform. We're going to be doing this for other platforms as well out there because again, VM is a VM future that way, right? And working with VMware, VMC, AWS, these guys. And just so everyone's Anthony, right? Probably about 6 or so months down the road, Michael, fair enough comment. AWS. Probably cut into, guys, all the people we do this with, is our ability to do global TV. Those cloud providers want to charge you for the space and everything else. Makes sense, right? When we do this stuff and they go, oh, that was a 10 terabyte data store a couple days ago, why is it down to 3.5? And why would I charge so many people? Kind of gets our, it slows us down a little bit. But so Azure will be next, and then Google will be behind that, right? And we have plenty of MSPs locally and nationally that use our products the exact same way. Showed it to you. Greg showed it to you. Hey, we showed you that it works. We give you the checkpoint. We give you all the stuff you need there. We're going to apply the exact same principles here. Right? The exact same principles we'll put inside our house. We'll take care of our house and everybody else's. These are real cool ways to do it. Open DR plan protocol that way. Connect DRAM. Any other questions?
Yeah, I was just gonna. You had a couple questions about. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interfere with you. Sorry. I feel so bad. Anyway, I really don't. This is how we do the scheduling. So you'll notice we'll define how often we take a snapshot. We can go down to 5 minutes if we need to. This is just when it's going to happen. This is going to define how long we're going to keep that data. So this is a retention. Down here, hey, where we're going to replicate it. Right now I'm replicating it to a DR location, a secondary location, and to the cloud. And I'm going to keep those replicated for 2 hours. If I need another schedule, let's say I want to run it daily. I just create a new schedule and say, hey, I want to do a daily now, and I want to keep that for 7 days. And then, oh, by the way, I also want to do a monthly and keep that for 4 months to a year. And I'm going to replicate these monthlies offsite to HQ2 or DR or wherever I want to keep them. So you have that ability, that flexibility for this one protection group to set multiple retention periods, multiple replication strategies, depending on, what your requirements are.
So I'm just moving the block level of the VMC on when I do these snaps.
Correct. Yep.
Even less.
Yeah.
You can have F1 and have 8 pieces to it. The only piece that changes is down here. This is the only piece that changes. It's even smaller than 1.
So like the concept.
Yep.
Same concept. Again, that's what the beauty of this will be coming back is the egress charges is the problem along the cloud providers. When you're only bringing back even less than the change one, because this piece could be already here, right? Joe Blow could already be a Datrium on-prem. You created it out in the cloud. We're going to check to see if it's already here. You might not have to bring anything back. That piece of data is already here. We're only going to replicate unique data. We do that.
Yeah.
The announcement
Oh, no, no, I was,
We're meant to do.
yeah.
It's just a positive of what we are doing.
Yeah, yeah. Just to you know, extend to what he said. When we did that synthesize phase, that's what we're doing. We're pulling those change block back in. We're compressing them, and then we're deduping them, and then we're only sending when we actually replicate back. The reason why the replicate back takes so short a time is because all we're doing is saying, what do we have at our primary site? What do we have at our DR site? What needs to go over there to make us whole over here? And it just changes those compressed blocks over. So that's why it happens so fast, right? If we're using some other product that actually has to move all the data back, we'd still be here waiting for the data to replicate back, right? And that only helps with the timing of all this and how short it takes. It also helps with the cost because we're not replicating all that data back. So, did this answer your question on how we do this? Okay, cool.
Before we do this, Andy's great. Simple to protect everything is what? What's our protect encryption star?
Oh, yeah, just put a star in there, it automatically protects everything. People should do that by default, snap everything in the data center once a day, keep it for a week. And then as you add new VMs, are automatically protected. You may have a unique protection group for your SQL servers or whatever it is. You want to see those every 15 minutes, then you create something unique. But at least you have a snapshot of every virtual machine in your data center every day by default.
So,
The hands-on lab that we're sending out the information to, that's like basically building a DVX system from the ground up, from installing on the host, setting up your data store, building your protection groups, doing replication, failover, failback. It doesn't do all the DRES stuff up into the cloud yet. We haven't built that yet, because it costs us money every time we do it up there and back. But at least it'll give you that foundational knowledge. It takes about 2 hours to run through everything. But if you think about, as Nick was saying, what that replaces, you may have an current environment between a storage system, a backup system, a replication system. It's really easy, right? I've been a manager for a long time. I've been on a console much lately, and I did it the first time in 2 hours. Start to finish, done. It's very easy. It's worthwhile. So that's always for 36 hours, right? So we give
To midnight Thursday night.
yeah.
And now, seriously, you guys, we'll spin up those instances for you. They're on the road to testing back and forth. Just let us know. Just have to try it. It's simple. So you guys up.
yeah.